And a very good Wednesday morning. This is Kenneth Gruenfelder live on the GSMC Baseball Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. And as to remind you guys to tip or donate to the program and get your comments recognized, go to streamelements.com slash streamelements.com slash GSMC Sports Network. I was waiting for the ticker to pop up. To scroll across streamelements.com slash gsmc sports network / tip. Again, really helps the show. And then for bonus coverage materials that are not on the broadcast, go to patreon.com and search GSMC Sports Network. And with that, once again, welcome to another edition of the GSMC Baseball Podcast. We have a lot to talk about on today's show, as we normally do. We'll go through the latest news and headlines to start off the show, as we typically do. A little bit different today. We'll go more specific things today. So in the second segment, we are going to talk about the Baltimore Orioles and devote a segment to them because they had another big win last night in Houston as they're trying to clinch the AL East. So we'll get into that. And then in the third segment, we'll take a look at the AL West race. So obviously the Astros will be a part of that conversation after taking another loss to the Orioles. We'll talk about the Mariners and the Rangers as well and what they did. So we'll go through their scores and what the standings are currently in that division. And then in the final segment, we will take a look at the NL wildcard race, go through the games involving those teams from last night. And that will be it. And yeah, so a little bit different of a show, and my dog just scared me, so she's barking. I guess because my dad went out, so I guess he's back now, or again either that or the mailman, somebody dropping off something. I don't know, but yeah, so that's a great way to open up the show. But yeah, right before I got on, there was a trade done in our fantasy football league. And it was a big head scratcher, to say the least. I'm not going to say what the trade was because I don't want to. Well, I'll say what the trade was. I won't say who did it. But one of our friends just traded DK Metcalf for Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt just got signed by the Cleveland Browns because Nick Chubb is out with a season-ending knee injury. And if you watched the Monday night game the other night, it was a very gruesome injury, and it was the same knee that he injured in 2015. Great running back. A lot of people say he's one of the more consistent running backs in football. But yeah, so everybody was talking about that, and it was pretty funny to watch all the reactions right before I got on. So, but yeah, that's a little fantasy football thing, and make sure to check out the fantasy football podcast, which is on tonight later in the day. Austin, the host, does a great job with that. So that's a little fantasy football plug right there for a fellow GSMC Sports Network host. So with that, let's get right into the first segment, which is going over the latest news and headlines. So obviously the Orioles are going to be a part of the discussion in the next segment. Just talking about them in general, because I feel like it is appropriate to give them some love, and it'll be like that with a lot of teams. There'll be segments where I just talk about one team for a certain reason, whether it's a playoff team or a team that was a pretty big disappointment, because there have been a lot of disappointments as well, and we will go over the Padres and the White Sox and some of those other teams, even the Yankees as well. And listen, I for me being a Yankee fan, I think so far I've done it. I mean, I would mention the Yankees here and there, but I haven't really talked about them a lot. But there's good reason for that. So, but yeah, the Orioles, they had a big win last night against the Astros again. This time winning 9-5 in Houston. So they've taken the first two games of this series, and now they're at 95 wins on the season. So I'll go into more detail with that when we get into the next segment. But I mean, listen, I was saying how I like the Astros' chances better to get back to the World Series, but right now, how the Orioles have been playing, and especially what they've done, winning in Houston the first two games, which is big. That's pretty impressive. So, yeah, that's again, we'll touch upon more of that in the second segment. Another thing is with regarding Ronald Acuna. So he homered twice last night, and he has a chance to have a 40-40 season. And I think right now, he's probably the guy that's going to win MVP. Because if you look at his stolen bases, I think is one of the biggest things that like separates him from Mookie Betts. He's got 67 stolen bases on the season. But right behind him at 61 is Ruiz on the A's. But I just think that's a big stat when you're looking at Ronald Acuna's numbers. And he's at 39 home runs. He's got 100 RBIs and over 1,000 OPS. So I think right now he is the front runner for MVP. You got Mookie Betts, and you also have Matt Olson, who has 52 home runs and 130 RBIs. But Acuna leads the league in runs scored, in on base percentage. It's in hits. I think it's going to be him. It's going to be him. And listen, he's going to get to 40. And could he get to 50 home runs? I mean, it's going to be close, but I think he'll probably fall short, just like Matt Olson's going to probably fall short of 60. But still, having those two guys in your lineup is huge. And Ronald Acuna is doing something amazing, and it's definitely something to keep an eye on. So then, in other news as well, moving on from that, so Shohei Ohtani underwent elbow surgery Tuesday morning, and it was a successful surgery. So it's being reported that he will be back by opening day. He'll be playing on opening day in next year, and he'll be hitting, and then he will be pitching again in 2025. So that's good news to hear. So we'll see how Ohtani bounces back, and where. Well, the other thing is, where is he going to play next year? That remains to be seen. But it's definitely really encouraging that the surgery went well. He's going to be at least hitting next year, and then the following year he'll be back to pitching. So we'll see how that goes. But again, it's going to be something to watch in the off season, and we'll be covering that a lot. All the rumors and things like that. So yeah, that's news on the Ohtani front. Then another thing, Blake Snell had another great performance last night. And actually, so I was watching MLB Network last night, and they had it was like a red zone, NFL red zone type thing going on MLB Network. They had the quad box going. They had 4 games going on at the same time, and they would jump around. And one of the things that I heard while listening to that was that in his last 21 starts, and 21 straight starts, including last night, Blake Snell has given up 3 runs or less in his last, I guess you could say now, 22 starts. That's unbelievable. And the Padres, well, he didn't pick up the win, but the Padres won 2-0. They won in the bottom of the 9th, getting 2 runs. I think right now, yeah, he's the front runner for Cy Young, and we talked about it yesterday. Spencer Strider had another solid start for the Braves, and actually Zach Gallen, and I've been saying Gallen for the last week and a half now. Zach Gallen going into the game last night, 11-2 at home with a 2.18 ERA, and the Diamondbacks ended up losing that game to the Giants. So that kind of hurt his chances. So really, yeah, right now you got to look at Blake Snell, and he's right now the front runner. So we'll see how it plays out, but yeah, I think at this point it is him. And you got Justin Steele as well, so he could have something to say about that. Again, it's going to come down to the last week, and if there's a hiccup, that could better somebody else's chances, but I think it's safe to say that Blake Snell is probably the favorite and is probably going to win it at this particular point in time. But another impressive outing by him, to say the least. Yeah, Blue Jays picked up a win last night against the Yankees. The Cubs picked up a win last night against the Pirates, so that was huge. But again, we'll go into more details with that in the later segments. But yeah, that's and the Marlins, they got a big win yesterday against the Mets. So yeah, that's pretty much it with all the headlines. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff did happen last night. I did take some time to watch some of the games. I did watch. I had the Yankees and the Blue Jays on for a little bit, but that game was pretty much over. Once the Blue Jays took a 2-1 lead, it was a snooze fest if you're a Yankee fan. So now just waiting for the team to officially be eliminated from the playoffs. And they got a lot of things they need to do in the offseason that I hope they do. But the Blue Jays, I mean, they're a good team. It's just they're inconsistent. That's the thing. A lot of these teams are inconsistent. They're hot, then they're cold. That's why it's going to be. It's really tough to predict where. Some of these teams are going to end up. I mean, I didn't guarantee anything. I would say, oh, this team, I think I'm leaning towards them not making it, or this team not making it. But then all of a sudden, when I say that, then the team gets hot. So, yeah, I don't really know. It's tough to predict, and especially now with with all these teams in the National League tied for or close to having that last wild card spot. It's going to be tough to predict. And yeah, see, my chats are still blowing up over this trade in our fantasy league. So that was a funny thing to come on for, because I'll be honest, I've made some bad trades over the last couple of years in our dynasty league that we do. So it's nice to see the attention be put on somebody else. But yeah, bad with predictions, bad with trades. That's basically me. So also, if you're a gambling person, if you like to bet, don't take my advice on anything. Although I've been good with the football spreads so far this year, so that's good. Football, I think, is probably the sport that I'm probably the best at when it comes to predictions. Well, not predictions, but like with spreads, and and money lines. Because baseball is very hard. Because listen, you got Zach Gallen pitching last night against the Giants. You think, and he's good at home, very good at home. Hey, that should be a win, right? No, it's not. They end up losing. Well, oh wait, no, they did win. Never mind. I don't know. I thought in the beginning he didn't pitch well. Because the Giants hit Jock Peterson hit a home run off of him, and Jock Peterson actually, that was another thing. He was 2 for 21 against Gallen going into the game, and he hit a home run off of him. The Giants went up 2-0. Lamonte Wade Jr. hit a triple, sac fly, and then Jock Peterson hit a home run. So yeah, they were down 2-1 already, and then the Diamondbacks put up a 5 spot in the next 2 innings. They put up 1 in the bottom of the first, then they got 4 in the second, 2 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth. But the Giants also did put up 2 runs in the top of the fifth. Yeah, so he gave up 4. Yeah, so he was like okay. He did pick up the win, but yeah, 4 earned runs, 6 hits. So yeah, he still didn't pitch that good, but he did end up picking up the win. But yeah, the Diamondbacks, they did get the win, but he didn't pitch how he usually does at home. But yeah, I know. I guess because I really only did pay attention to the beginning of the game. So, but yeah, he didn't pitch the best. But we'll talk more about that in the next segment. So with that, we are going to take our first break of the show, and then when we come back, we are going to talk about the Baltimore Orioles and the season they're having and how they've gotten to this point. So stick around, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast.